Hello, and welcome to this edition of On the Beat. I'm Detective Steve Berry of the Mesa Police Department, and in this edition of On the Beat, we're going to focus on senior safety and our back-to-school safety. First, we have with us today Karen Stegenja of the Mesa Police Department Crime Prevention Program. Hi, Karen. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks, Steve.
Let's talk about some of our safety issues with regards to seniors in our community. Have we been noticing any particular trends or crime activity that's specifically targeting our seniors?
We have. Recently, we've had several, in fact, also in some of the surrounding communities, where we've had individuals approach the homes of seniors, and a couple of different stories that they're telling to try to get in the home is they ask if the car that's parked in the in the driveway is for sale, or they say they're new to the neighborhood and they need to use their phone, or any number of stories that they use to try to get in the home.
So these are individuals that are just maybe going through neighborhoods and looking for a home that appears to, maybe there's a senior at home, and then they're using this plan or guise amongst them to try and gain access to the home.
Right, right. And once they're in the home, what they're trying to do is one of the individuals, there's usually more than one, they will distract the homeowner in one part of the house while their accomplices go into usually the bedrooms and go through looking for jewelry and small items, cash. And they're in and out in a matter of minutes, and oftentimes the homeowner isn't even aware that they're being burglarized.
Sure. Very, very troubling situation, certainly when you've got people that are coming into the home like that, rather brazenly. Now, if one of our seniors, or anyone else in the community for that matter, would find themselves in this type of situation, what type of tips could we give them to perhaps prevent them from becoming a victim? Well,
one of the things we often tell our seniors is do not let strangers into the home. Bottom line, it's great if they have a security door, because then they can open up their main door to see who it is. If it's somebody that says that they're with UPS or FedEx or something, ask for identification. We've had people posing as City of Mesa employees, ask for identification. The bottom line is, before you let a stranger into your home, verify their identity. I don't care what the story they're telling you. It could be very heartbreaking, it could be very compelling,
sure,
but that's how they get to the hearts of these seniors. So basically, don't let strangers into your home.
And certainly that's great advice for not only for our seniors, but for anyone else in the community. And certainly I would suggest that if it ever does become that serious of a question, contact the police department, and we'll send out an officer and have that person checked out.
Yes. Yeah, and it's good for them to, if they do see a stranger and they're trying to get in the home, if they can get us a license plate, description of the vehicle, kind of be aware that maybe these people are riding through the neighborhood, as you said, to try to get us some information.
Sure, all those things would definitely be a great help. Now, I know one of the other trends that we've seen lately, and it's kind of been ongoing, is some of the overseas type scams where individuals, I guess, are emailing or calling some of our seniors trying to get money that way?
Right. I've had several calls actually in the last few months, particularly people sending money to Jamaica or receiving calls from Jamaica, but it can happen in any country, Canada, England, Spain, Nigeria. We've had it from several different countries, but basically the premise is the same. They're calling to tell the folks that they've won a prize, but before they get their prize, they have to send some money to pay for fees or taxes or custom fees, whatever, they come up with, administrative fees. And so in order to get the prize, they have to pay something first. And typically what happens, they'll send money. They won't get the prize. The caller will call back, tell them they need to send more money, and they'll just keep calling, and sometimes 5-6 times a day.
Wow, that's certainly unfortunate. And I guess the main information of that is certainly if you are winning a prize, for most reputable places where you would ever win something, they're certainly not going to ask you to send them a fairly large sum of money in order to collect your prize.
Right. Well, the rule is you never have to pay a fee. Sometimes it'll be as small as $11, $20, but when a con artist sends out thousands of letters and they get $11 from each person, that's a pretty good day's work for them. So our bottom line is never pay a fee if you've won a prize in order to claim that prize. And the other take on the scam, the same type of scam, if they don't get the phone call or the email, is they'll receive a check in the mail. And the check, maybe for $4,000 or $5,000, is supposed to be a portion of their winnings. And what they're asked to do is take the check to the bank and then wire a portion of that money. If they get a check for $4,000, maybe they're told to wire back $1,500 to pay for these same fees. They do that because the bank's very difficult to tell whether these checks are legitimate, and what they do is they wire the money out and then the check bounces a few weeks later.
Sure.
And that one is, that scam actually has been on the rise over the last couple of years, and that's one of the things that we've looked out for.
Well, you know, these are certainly a couple of great tidbits of information for our seniors, and again, the whole community to look out for. We certainly at the police department and with the folks at Crime Prevention helping us along the way do everything we can to keep everyone in our community safe and away from these type of scams. So yeah, this has been some fabulous information.
Good. Well, I thank you for the opportunity, and you know, I just received a call this morning about a son or daughter that is worried about their parent sending money to Jamaica. So
Sure.
it's out there, and it's happening more than we know because it's very much underreported.
Sure. Well, that's great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break for just a second here, and when we come back, we're going to have Al Moore from the Mesa Public School System giving us some tips for back-to-school safety and safety throughout the year for our school kids. Hello, and welcome back. Now I'm joined by Al Moore, who is the Director of School Safety and Security for the Mesa Public School System. Welcome, Al.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about some of the school security issues that are going on now that we're coming back into the school session?
Well, one thing I'd like to say is that safety is a top priority at the Mesa Public Schools. We've actually realigned the beats of our district security officers to allow more patrol for our schools during the day shift hours. The biggest problem that always seems to arise every year is the stranger contacts that the kids have as they walk to and from school. And the best advice I can give to parents and to students is never walk alone. In all my years of investigating these types of crimes, I don't know that we've ever had cases where suspects have approached 2 or more people. Now, I'm sure that has happened, but the likelihood that they're going to approach one is very high compared to when you're walking with a group. And that goes for any age and really any sex. We have boys and girls that are victims to these types of contacts, we like to call them.
And I think that's a great point that you bring up first, which is the safety and security of being in numbers. Obviously, we at the police department work hand in hand with the Mesa school security officers to try and watch out for these things. But there's a lot of schools out there and a lot of kids, and of course it's difficult for us to be everywhere. And providing information like this, you know, on how to stay together and watch out for these things is definitely paramount. Now, if a child does find themselves in this type of situation, someone tries to contact them inappropriately, perhaps on their way to school, we always, of course, teach our kids to run to a safe location and, of course, contact the school administrators and police department as quickly as possible. But what else can they look out for if they are able to provide some additional information as they're going to a safe place?
Well, the best thing to do is when they are walking to keep a close eye on your surroundings. If you're walking around, you know, look for somebody else that's walking alone. If there's an adult walking towards them, then, you know, my advice would be to speed up or even run. If a car is slowing down, be aware of cars that are coming up behind you. Things like that. If you're walking up to a car and the door is open, you know, don't pass that car. I think the biggest thing is just being aware of your surroundings, which will then keep you safe.
And I think you just hit it right on the head there. It's all about being aware. We certainly don't want to scare our children or anyone else in the community, but we do want them to be aware that, unfortunately, on occasion, these situations do arise. And by being aware and just paying attention, we can avoid a lot of these situations that we could potentially get into with the children.
Yes.
What other situations do we have going on in school? I know nowadays we've got, with the advent of the internet and cell phones and a lot of other things like that, we've had a few incidents where there's been some inappropriate type texting and things like that going on at school, and some of that can be even criminal.
Yes, it can. And it is concerning when kids are starting to text, and every phone you buy nowadays has a camera on it, and it's real convenient to take a picture and send a picture to your friends. And that's okay unless it's an inappropriate picture. And I think what people need to realize that a lot of these inappropriate pictures could be criminal, and those are felony charges if they are found out and investigated. So it's very important that people understand that what might be innocent between you and your boyfriend next week when you and your boyfriend break up and then all of a sudden those pictures start going to all the other friends. It's no longer fun, and that's when it usually comes out, and then an investigation begins. And we work hand in hand with the Mesa Police Department.
And I was going to say, you know, I've seen those investigations as they come through, and they can be quite damaging and embarrassing for the children and the individuals, the teenagers involved in this. And so using a little bit of common sense can certainly go a long ways. And that goes not only for with the phones and the texting and the possible inappropriate messages, but again, tying this back to school things, the kids love to get on the computers, and they've all got their Facebook type pages or the social networking pages.
And people need to understand that's the World Wide Web, and people will be able to get in there and have access to it.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I would like to point out is, you know, when you're on the web and you're on Facebook or MySpace, you know, don't give out your personal information. Don't give out your phone numbers and your addresses or even your age, because all those things are going to be used by predators who are on those pages looking for victims.
And certainly so. A lot of times I've seen where the children will put information on there about their schools and all their different activities, and even though they're trying in some instances to be very discreet, they don't realize that the little tidbits of information that they put out there can very quickly lead a predator type person back to the school that they go to, the neighborhood, and the routes that they take. So all of these things combined are just things, again, we want to make people aware of. We don't want to create fear. We just want the parents and the students to think about some of these things, have good communication, and certainly if something does arise, contact the school administration and the security staff and or the Mesa Police Department, and we'll certainly work together to ensure that our children have a very safe and happy school year.
And we do work hand in hand with the Mesa Police Department, with the school resource officers and the supervisors at the Center Against Family Violence, and we have a great working relationship.
It's always worked very well. Al, I'd like to thank you for coming in the studio this month and joining us here. The information that you provided us will go a long way towards our kids having a safe and happy school year.
Well, thanks for having me.
And we'd like to thank you for joining us for this edition of On the Beat. For additional information on any of the topics that we've covered today, feel free to log on to our website,